is. And it's good to see your faces. It's really, thanks for coming out. Thanks for making this a community, because it's really a community that we come to know ourselves. Because each of us is a reflection of what we're longing to receive. Okay, so I'm not doing patience. I'm too impatient to do patience. So what we're going to do is, my talk is about the power of your word. It's about integrity. It's about coming from that place that we know is true inside, yet somehow it escapes us. So I'm going to start with a few questions. Now, when you speak to somebody, when you're telling a story, do you stretch the length of the fish that you caught? That fish got a little longer. Going to school when you were a kid in the snow, did the miles get deeper? Or did the snow get deeper, did the miles get longer? You know what I'm saying? Do we exaggerate just a little bit? Just question yourself. There have been times when I have done that. Perhaps there have been times when you have done that also. Okay, next question. Can you be trusted to do what you say you're going to do? I'm going to show up for our luncheon date at exactly 12:30. You forget. There's times when you say that you're going to do something. I'm going to return your call. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take out the trash. I'm going to do this, and you don't do it. We've all done that. Okay. So keep with me now here. Can you keep a secret? You say, zip it, do you zip it, and does it ever leave your lips again? And then can you trust yourself? Can you really trust what you know is true, and can you act from that place? Or do you fudge from time to time? You know, that's me right there. Every little piece of that. See, integrity and the power of the power of your word comes from integrity. How solid are you with yourself? How true are you to yourself? How well do you know yourself? You know, imagine you're in a canoe, you're paddling along, and you tell a little untruth. Poop, it's like a pencil hole in the canoe. A little water starts coming in. And then, maybe next day, a couple more little pokes. And before long, you're bailing water, and you had to drop the darn paddle because all you can do is bail the water from the messes that you've made. I'll keep it personal, that I've made. None of you guys have ever done that. So it's the messes that I've made. And then how do we go about cleaning up our messes? What type of integrity do we have to clean up the little holes? Do we have duct tape along on our journey that we can patch our holes? Because we do make messes. You know, sometimes the car, like this morning, I was out of gas. I went, oh my goodness. I mean, it's like, I didn't plan that. Whew. And I had my phone, so if I was going to be late, anyway, you get the idea. To make sure that if there is a problem, that you clean up the problem. Okay. So, there's a study at MIT, great study. Two groups. Both groups were going to take this test, a difficult test. These were freshmen, MIT students, just come in. They go into the room, first group goes into the room, there's no monitoring, so they're taking the test, but they're observing them, and guess what? They're cheating. There's cheating going on in there. The second group, they said, before you go in and take your test, we're going to have you write down as many of the 10 Commandments that you can. So, they did, and then they went and took the test, and guess what happened? They didn't cheat. Interesting. So maybe that was a Christian thing, and 10 Commandment thing, and school training, kindergarten training and, whatever, the small training, maybe that's had something to do with it. So they thought, well, let's try that experiment again. Another control group, they went in, took the test, of course, they cheated. And the other group, they said, when you came to MIT, you signed an ethics and moral agreement. So just remember that, go take the test. What happened?
They cheated.
They cheated? They didn't cheat, no. They didn't cheat. Now here's the kicker, they never signed that agreement. But the mere thought was enough to remind them of what they knew. Whether you know it or not, we come here to places just like this to be reminded of what we already know and what we've always known. There's that, we can call it the sacred place, we can call it that soft, mushy place inside of us, but notice where I'm looking, I'm pointing here. There's something within us that knows the right thing to do, that just knows it. Now the question is, sometimes we don't hear it. Most of the time we do. We know the right thing to do. But there are those times when we're tested, we're challenged. Like the time I was cutting a tree down with my son, and there was a car parked right under the tree that we couldn't get to move. And so we were being really careful with those branches as they came down. Guess what happened? A dent. So here I'm being tested. My son's 15 at the time. This is like 20 years ago. And I'm going, do I leave a note or do I not leave a note? The fact that I'm even questioning means I'm in trouble. I don't leave a note. And I look at my son, he looks at me, and he says, what should we do? I said, well, it's an old car. Notice how we're justifying it. It's an old car, it's dirty, they won't notice, we'll be okay. Oh boy, Randy's right. That cost me something. That cost me dearly. That cost me my relationship to my son in some ways, by my example, but it also cost me a break in my own integrity. I knew it was right and I didn't do the right thing. The next day I went back and looked for that car. Couldn't find it. I was ready now for the note. I'd been thinking about it, and I told my son about that. He said, well, it's happened, it happened. So, last Tuesday, he's loading a refrigerator in the back of our trailer, and right next to the trailer, there's a brand new black Lexus. Big, heavy refrigerator, brand new black Lexus. Boom! We're tested again. And I wasn't there at the time, I was up in the apartment. And Kevin comes up and says, man, you won't believe this, I banged a Lexus. And I already left a note. There it is. There it is. Immediately, we know the right thing to do. It's there. We don't have to read a book. You don't even have to listen to me, my goodness. But you already know what is that moves us, that guides us, that is always there. There's a quote from Werner Erhard, who was one of my mentors. I spent some time with him. And the quote goes like this: when my integrity is lacking, I am cleared. I just got to be a little bit smaller as a person. A little bit less trustworthy. And that's what keeps me working on my integrity, and it's a mountain with no top. This thing about working with our integrity and our honesty, because integrity really has like 3 pieces, I'll call. The first piece is that honesty. Am I honest? Can I speak with accuracy? Accuracy. The fish was exactly 3.5 inches long. That's as long as it was. It wasn't 4, it was 3.5. My height is 6'1 3/4" and shrinking. And that's what it is. That's accurate. Trustworthiness means that I will show up on time, and if I don't, I will try to move mountains in order to keep my word, not to you, but to myself. Because that's where the power of my word comes from, when I give my word. And we wonder why there isn't abundance and love and that in our lives. Well, it has to go with our word. How true are we? How can we attract something when our canoe is always filling with water? So these are important things. How true are we to ourselves? Okay, now. There was this man, grandpa type guy, lived a good life, really nice guy. His grandson says, "Grandpa, do you have any regrets?" And the man says, "No, I have no regrets." And that night, Grandpa went, laid down, went to sleep, and the angels came and took him on one of those Scrooge journeys where they took him to see his past. And so Grandpa was now in junior high, and he was witnessing one of his best friends being bullied and sort of beat up. And he didn't do anything, and he walked away, and he felt ashamed. Next scene they went to when there was a woman in his office that was being harassed by one of the bosses and demeaned, and he didn't do anything. And it went on and on like this, where he was shown the times that he could have acted, and he didn't act. And we've all done it. We've all done it. But from this day forward, we have a new chance. We have an absolute new chance from this day forward to be true to what we know is true. That by omission, we've got trouble. You know, when we see injustice, do we speak out? When we see the politics that are going on right now, and if we're not speaking out, if these politics are not for the big cause, for all of the people, it's time to speak out. It's time to speak from that place which we know is true. There was this emperor in China, and I love this story. And he had no heir to his kingdom, or his emperorship, or and so he puts out a call to all the young boys. If you would like to be the heir to the throne, why don't you come on down? Well, thousands showed up. All these young boys, really, really eager. Well, the emperor was a wise man. And he had these seeds, and he said, I'm going to give a seed to each of you. You go home, and for 1 year, you tend to that seed, and bring it back in a year. And then we're going to judge the plants. We're going to see what happens. So Ling took the seed, was very excited. He went on home and talked to his mom. Look at this. I can be the emperor. I can be, oh boy, and I'm going to plant this seed. And so Mom helped him pick it out, planted the seed, started watering it. A week went by, nothing. 2 weeks went by, nothing. He's looking at the other kids in the village. Something was growing in their pots, but in his pot, nothing. He sings to it, he waters it, he really tends to it. 6 months, nothing. Year rolls around. He's looking at the pot and says, Mom, I can't go. They've already been laughing at me for nothing is growing in this pot. What am I going to do? She said, well, this is your decision. I know it's a tough one, because you will probably face ridicule. It's going to take immense courage to show up with nothing when everybody else has so much. But it's your choice. And he thinks a bit, and he says, I'll go. You knew that, didn't you? So he goes. And as he comes in with his pot with nothing, he's looking around and there's beautiful pots with gorgeous plants and there's all of this, and he's walking and just, oh, I've got nothing. So he shows up. And the emperor is going by each person looking at the plant. He gets to Ling and goes, what do we have here? And Ling said, I love this seed. I gave it my whole heart. I watered it daily. I took care of it, and nothing has grown. Says the emperor, and continues to walk on. Well, now at the end of making the rounds, just about 2 hours of looking at every single plant, he comes back and says, some of you desperately want to be emperor, and you would do anything to make that happen. But there's one among you that brought me nothing. Ling, come forward. And he does. And he's bringing this pot with nothing in it. And all the kids are laughing. Emperor says, shh. The seeds I gave you, I had boiled. They're dead. They cannot grow. This is integrity right here. This is integrity. Staying true and not stretching anything, but just remaining true. And he said, the emperor said, courage and integrity are far more important values for leadership and life than proud displays. Than proud displays. But isn't that what we do when we stretch things a little bit? We want to look a little bit taller, a little bit fresher, smarter, whatever, generous. You name it. We want to sort of add to it. And what that does is that tells us that we're not enough the way we are. What if we really got that we're exactly as we are, that we're not only enough, we're pretty damn good. Just as we are. Just as we are. So this thing about integrity is coming home to that fact that just as we are is not only good enough, it's exactly what the world needs. Exactly. Our particular flavor, fragrance, is exactly what is needed. So in the workshop, we're going to start moving this along and expanding that. And we're going to be expanding this quote. I don't know who it's from. It's brilliant, though. And it says, today I told a lie in order to be kind, for I know more about kindness than I do about truth. Today I told a lie in order to be kind, because I know more about kindness than I do about truth. So that's what we're going to start looking at in the workshop, that where do we err on being kind or as opposed to being truthful or accurate? Maybe there are times, and that's where that open-minded, open-heartedness comes in. We're looking at the big picture. What serves the greater good, not just my individual interests? Because we need one another, and we need to be kind to one another, and that kindness always returns. Always returns. So for today, just for today, which you could extend it if you wanted, not only be kind to others, but to be kind to yourself, and to simply listen to that little mushy part inside that we know is so true. And then remember to simply enjoy yourself. That's it. And I thank you.